we're recording. Thank you, Kate.
Okay, so are you saying, so if I just put up my screen, you can see it?
Do you see the share screen button at the bottom of your Zoom screen?
No.
Should be in green.
Should be in green.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Then hit share screen, and then you have to click on the one you want to share.
Just do entire screen. Okay.
Yep, we can see it now.
Okay. Okay. First of all, thank you, and I apologize. I'm a little scratchy. It's kind of that crud that seems to be going around. So everything's on a slide. If I don't sound great, hopefully you'll be able to read along. So I just wanted to do a quick little overview of the 2 different reading programs that the state of Illinois offers for high school students. And like Leah said, I'm the library media director at Marion High School in Marion, Illinois. I've been here 29 years, and here we go. The first one is the Read for a Lifetime. We can share this later, and you can, if this is a link, you can go to their website. Let's see, it'll pop us out, and you'll see this. The Read for a Lifetime is a program that the state of Illinois, the state library, Alexis Janulia and his office has done for years. Here's a little bit of the program information. It's to promote reading. They do really nice certificates every year. You just have to get the information to them. Once you register on the website, they'll continue to send you information. If you have a kid that does it 4 consecutive years, they get a special certificate, so it's kind of fun. There's 25 books on the list, and you can make special requests if somebody needs material that isn't, that's Braille or from the Talking Book Center. Quick little overview of the titles. I'm actually on the committee that chooses this, so if you have any questions later, please feel free to email me. This particular list is quite heavy on the suspense and thriller, but I know like Promised Boys and Hide and Man-Made Monsters, they've been on the New York Times bestseller list. There aren't particular requirements for this one. They don't have to be new. They could be a classic book, any of the above. And then I just picked a couple off of each kind of category to highlight ones that my kids have found super popular. The first one is the Agathas. Here again, these are all suspense and mysteries. Welcome to Castle Cove, a town for missing girls. Alice was the first of Steve's girlfriend to disappear, but now Brooke has. So it's kind of a whodunit, super popular, and Kathleen Glasgow's written other stuff before. 5 Total Strangers. I just booked to talk this today. There's a really neat YouTube if you use the YouTube or you do book talk videos. This one has a great one. And yes, you can always say to your kids, your parents told you not to ever ride with strangers, but Mira does. And something is off, something will happen, and not everyone will make it out alive. Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. This is our Catherine McManus, One of Us is Lying. You can usually promo this one pretty early because of the Netflix show. And plus, she's been a pretty popular author. This one has to do with the murder of a teacher 4 years later. When someone moves back to town, things start to unravel. And this one has been super popular too. This is Jessica Goodman. And this is They'll Never Catch Us. And I said, I'm the cross-country coach at my high school for the girls. So I don't know, this one's been super popular. You don't have a lot of sports mysteries. So it's a rivalry. And one of the rival girls goes missing, and the Steckler sisters are the biggest suspect. Who did it and why? It's also, this list is heavy on realistic fiction. The nice thing about the realistic fiction that they chose, you have your Steady Eddies, Nicole Yoon's Instructions for Dancing, Amber McBride, We're All Good at So Good at Smiling is actually a novel in verse. A little something for everybody. Parachutes is new, but a great read. Jason Reynolds has The Ain't Burden So Bright, which if you haven't seen that, don't do the digital book because the art is what sells that book. Beartown by Frederick Backman, they made into an HBO series, so it's been kind of popular even though it's been out for a little while. Nick Stone, of course, our dear Martin and such. Chaos Theory does a good job. And then, of course, All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. She won the National Book Award for. Some popular ones at my school have been Hollow Fires. This one has a mystic, supernatural part to it because a young boy is murdered and his spirit comes back to try to talk to our main character, to Sophia, because he wants to be found. The Davenports has also been nice. It's historical fiction. It's also been on the New York Times bestseller list. It's a person of color. It's set right here in Chicago, in Illinois, so that's a nice piece. It's set in the 20s, and you have this family that is well-to-do, and they have sort of a, this might not mean a lot to your kids, but if you can think like Grantchester and those things. There's a few science fictions. The list tries to get a little bit of everything. There's Roxy by Neal Shusterman, and then Daughters of the Deep by Rick Riordan. Hard to go wrong with a Rick Riordan book. And this one's a retelling of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Some nonfiction. Messy Roots is a graphic novel. Salido is a biography of about a young man who traveled from South America to the US. And then the biography is The Three Girls from Brownsville also. Also in the nonfiction category, being super popular, is this graphic novel, Victory Stand by Tommy Smith. People of a certain age will definitely remember Tommy's fist raised at the Mexico Olympics and how he lost everything and where he's come from there. Great story, great sports, easy to sell. The other reading award is called the Lincoln Award. To participate in this one, this is put on by the Illinois ISLE, so the Association of Illinois School Library Association. This is their high school award. For those of you that aren't high school, let's pop out here just for a second. If you're not familiar with ISLE, there's 4 different reading choice awards. The Monarch and the Blue Stem are your grade school awards. The Lincoln's the high school, and then the Rebecca Caudle is for the junior high folks. So if these titles aren't for your age group, certainly check out the ISLE page and check out the ones for your age group. Let's pop back. Okay. Program information, and I've been on all the committees for this one, and I really recommend all the ones I just showed you on the ISLE committee. Get involved, especially those of us from Southern Illinois. We can usually get on the committee because they like to have people from all across the state and don't always get people who apply to be part of the readers. You can be a reader, you can be on the steering committee, and they love people from all across the state. So I would strongly encourage you to be involved in this. And a lot of it's done Zoom now, so you don't even have to travel as much. So that's my plug for that. The program is to encourage high school kids to read. You do not have to, the list sometimes, so it's a list of 20 books. If a student wants to participate fully by voting for their favorite book off the list. This is a Reader's Choice Award. They all are for ISLE Reader's Choice Awards. Your student has to read at least 4 books off the list between the time the list comes out in March until the time the voting is. You as a librarian promote this at your school. You do not have to carry any books that you feel wouldn't fit well in your school, but you have to do at least, I think it's 12 books off the list. So you don't have to have them all. And sometimes it just budget-wise, you can't have them all, but that's okay. You have to promote them. I have the third bullet down, resources are available. So once you register your school, it's $10 to register, so it's a real nominal fee, but then you get behind the paywall, so to speak. And they provide all kinds of resources. They provide book talks, they provide read-alikes, all kinds of good stuff. So, but you only get that when you register your school. If you don't register your school, you can obviously still look at the list, and it would be good for collection development. But if you want the whole thing, register for that. If you don't have time to be a reader for them, but you'd still like to be involved, the fourth bullet there, make a nomination. You know, one of my personal complaints was there weren't a lot of sports books. It's hard to get some of the fellas to read. Nominate the sports books. I was a person who looked at the nominated list this year. There really weren't a lot. So I encourage you, no matter what level you are, Blue STEM, CODL, this, you can recommend books for your age group for the following years. So that would be for 2024-25. The other thing that's really fun about this is the next bullet down. So LBBS, they give away sets, entire sets of the Lincoln, the CODL, the Blue STEM, and the Monarch. If you get to the website for the ISLE, it'll give you the information, and they're accepting applications March 15th to the 30th. You do a little grant proposal. Excuse me, I've done it before. It's not too hard. And then if you're accepted, they send you a free set of all the books in paperback. So it's a really nice way to promote the program. And not only can you participate as an adult, but your students can. And I've taken readers before that have gone up and pick. So the 20 books off the list, 4 of the books are chosen solely by the students. Doesn't matter if the adults think, I don't love that book. The students get a voice. They can choose that book for the list. Okay, so if you have questions, I'll answer them when I'm finished, or please feel free to email me. And here's a short little look at the books on the list. This one's heavy again on realistic fiction. The books have to be published within the last 5 years for this list, and they have to be available in paperback. And the author has to be living. And the author has to be living is the winner, whatever the winning book is, they're presented with an award at the ISLE conference if they can come. So they have to be living. There's your realistic fiction, Clap When They Land, Kate in Waiting, Kathleen Glasgow's You'd Be Home by Now, Heretics Anonymous, Fat Chance, Charlie Vega, Girls I've Been, The Assignment, and In the Wild Light. Some of the more popular ones at my school, You Know I'm No Good by Jessie Ann Foley. It's realistic fiction. It's about substance abuse. It's about a young lady who's made some choices because she thought that's what was expected of her. They wanted her to be bad. And some kids can see themselves in that. It is a little more mature audience maybe, but well done. And here's All My Rage by Saba Tahir. Just to put my plug in, this was probably my favorite book of last year. I read it last year. I just loved it. And like I said, she won the National Book Award for it. It has friendship, it has tragedy, it has it all. It has a need for tissues at the end. it was very good. This is Casey McQuinn. She did red, white, and royal blue. This is I Kissed Sarah Wheeler. Realistic fiction. It is LGBTQ. It's also a mystery. Excuse me. So Sarah Wheeler disappears. Where did she go? Her friends try to find her. This is Mindy McGinnis's Be Not Far From Me. Not her newest, but not all that old. Realistic fiction and an adventure. This is, it's like Hatchet, but up a notch. And our main character is a female who gets lost in the woods, but she knows the woods. But she hurts herself, and will she make it out alive? It's a little gory in parts, but it is so good. Big sell for my kids. The Weight of Blood, if you've done Tiffany D. Jackson, just continues on her suspense, thriller, mysteries. Another good one. It's a little take on Carrie. You can kind of see that from the cover. But it is suspenseful, thriller, but as always, Tiffany D. Jackson puts twist after twist into it. So there was a fire at prom. Only one person survived, and he claims that it had to do with Maddie, but she's never found. Did she do it, and why? This has been another popular suspense thriller, #murder trending. This one's been out a little bit. It has a sequel. If your kids have read this, they could do the sequel. But yeah, near future live streaming. Historical fiction, Ruta Sepetys. And this author, she's based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and she does do Skype visits. Because I was talking to somebody who's having her Skype in for a visit. This has to do with Romania in the 1980s. Ruta Sepetys does a great job with her historical fiction. Andy Weir, if anybody did The Martian, this is an easy sell. This is his Hail Mary. Gentleman wakes up, and the world has definitely changed while he's been sleeping. Also some nonfiction. You'll notice a couple of them are graphic novels. Dancing at the Pity Party, Dragon Hoops by Gene Luen Yang. He did Boxers and Saints, if you're familiar with that. He's a Prince Award winner. And then you got George Johnson's We Are Not Broken. And this has been a super popular one just because of the title, I think. But who the F are you? Graphic novel. Her first name is Huda. Her last name starts with an F. And the funny thing is, I always say it opens with a letter from her mother saying how her mother hates the title. But it has to do with Huda and wearing the hijab and being ostracized and called out in her neighborhood. Quick, there's other resources. YALSA, the young adult, through ALA, puts out a top 10 list, and they just put it out. So check theirs out. And then there's my information. I'm at Marion High School. I'm just jgriffith@marionunit2.org. Feel free to email me, or I think, Leah, are we taking questions? If somebody has a question, here, I'll unshare my screen. Or do I have to? Yes.
Nope, you're good. You unshared. That's perfect. We are taking questions, and Samantha brought it to my attention that my form was wrong. It didn't have today's date on it to sign in. So I have corrected that form. And when you sign in for your PDH, it is correct now. So does anybody have any questions about the list of really great books that Jenna went over? I've just added like 3 or 4 to my TBR pile, which was already way too big.
And if anybody does, if you're part of Rails or you do well, it's now Boundless. It was Access 360, but it's Boundless. And I'm sure it's the same with, is it Cloud Library? Is that what Share does? Yep. Most of those are available as audiobooks too. So great places for the kids to get them.
Okay, thank you so much, Jenna. Do we have one more chance for questions before we move on? If you have questions and you don't think of them until later, you can definitely put them in the chat or you can email Jenna. And I will make these slides available to everybody so you can go back and see them. So you don't have to take pictures or write them all down because I will make them available. All right, Beth, take it away. She's going to talk about elementary and middle. And the other thing I wanted to say about these lists is that sometimes you see overlap between lists. And I always say those are the books you definitely want to get because those are the ones that are getting buzz. So if you see books on more than one list, that's probably because people are really impressed with it.
I just had a quick question, and I think I was muted because this is my first webinar. So
oh, no, that's fine.
Not sure how to do the whole thing. I'm at a middle school, and so I know that this program isn't really geared toward us, but you had talked about the grant that was available that you can do through ISLE. And it would be for like the Caudle books, which are our level. Would I still need to register my school in ISLE even if I can't do that program? Or can I apply for the grant if I can't do the Read for Life?
Okay.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Jenna.
No, so that one is for any of the 4 that ISLE does. It's for, you could apply for, like when you get the grant thing, it says, do you want the Caudle list? Do you want the Blue Step list? Which list do you want? Because, and I believe it's been a few years since I applied, but like you can't get it every year. So
okay.
But I can't.
But I don't need to register my school through ISLE in order to apply for the grant.
You
Is that
have
correct?
to be a member of ISLE.
Well, you have to be
the grant.
Well, you have to be a member of ISLE, yes.
But I don't have to like enroll in the Read for Life program because we're, like I said, we're middle school, so my kids would not be eligible. Okay, perfect. All
you will have to enroll in the Rebecca Caudle program, though.
Yes.
You know, you have to enroll in whichever program you apply for. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yep. And you only get one. So if you want the Caudle, that's what you choose, and that's what you get.
Okay.
Okay. But you do have to be an ISLE member.
This won't help you this year, but every year, well, for 2 years now, we're hoping to make it an annual thing. We do a grant writing workshop with LBSS, and we meet in August, and we talk about the best way to apply for that grant. And they usually give away a free enrollment in one of the programs. I mean, $10 is not a lot, but you know, it does help. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think I saw that, and it landed at a time that I was not able to participate. I'm the only one in my library, so I can't always.
You are not the only one in that situation.
Yeah.
So.
But make sure to go to the ISLE page and look, because I think the grant writing workshop is fantastic. But I think to apply for the grant for next year's books, you have to do it like I think you have to do it in April. Is it April?
Yeah, it's in the spring. It is in the spring.
Okay.
So it's before that grant writing project.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
So it won't help for this year's application, but if you are thinking about it, and especially if you've applied for a grant and you weren't successful, it does give you some tips.
I have actually, in my previous job, I used to work at the East Alton Public Library many years ago, and I did write a couple of grants that were successful. So I have done it before, but it's been a really long time. So
I think you'll find it pretty easy to do then.
Okay.
So, and if you have questions, let somebody know. We will be glad to help you.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to turn it over to Beth Findley now.
Okay.
Beth, are you still co-host? Can you share your screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Leah asked me to talk about where I find my books and how I decide what books to go into the libraries. I have 2 junior high schools and 5 elementary schools that I am in charge of. And yes, it's only me as a librarian. So I totally understand you. So these are the places that I usually go for book recommendations that I like to look at. Tidal Wave is really great. They'll give you several different recommendations. based off of school library journal, Kirkus, book reviews. You got all different kinds of things there that they will give you everything right there on Tidal Wave. Tidal Wave is free for you to sign up for. You don't have to order through them in order to use this and to use the total service. Random House has some great ones. Again, School Library Journal has some great reviews. Brightly, Everyday Reading, and Beyond the Bookends are also ones that I like to, they're blogs that I like to go to see what everybody else is kind of up and coming with that. So here are some of the books that I've been looking at that I've got on my to purchase list, or I've just recently purchased. These first three I have as YA because they are all 8th grade and up, and we go to 8th grade. So I kind of put that title on them in order for the younger 6th graders to kind of know these might be a little bit more above and beyond what they probably might want to read, although they still always check them out anyways. So The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight talks about two students falling in love on a flight to New York, pretty much. And then they are separated after that flight, and then they come back together just very randomly and meet up again. So The Christmas Clash is two people who really don't like each other. Their families hate each other. They own separate restaurants, but they're always competing against each other, and yet they got to come together to save their families' restaurants. And then Talk Santa to Me is about a girl who's trying to pull off the best Christmas ever, and at the same time she's falling for this boy, and so it's kind of a romance on that end. So okay, so Glass Slippers is there, and as you can see at the bottom, I kind of put what I find at one of the things that I find on Tidal Wave, what it's rated at from the publisher, from Kirkus, from any of those. So you'll see there's Glass Slippers, that's the second book in the series. Jennifer Chan is Not Alone is another really good one that we just got in, so I haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited to do so. So we have my screen is in the way, I can't read. The Love Report. It's a new graphic novel. Again, that's another one that we just got in. But from reading the back cover, it's about two girls that they're really kind of interested on why everybody's in love and how it happens. And then so they start watching everybody, and they're taking notes, and they're compiling it all together, and they're calling it The Love Report. So we have Dire Wimpy Kid is very popular at all my schools, elementary and middle. Usually it's about 4th grade and up that they start reading that. Percy Jackson is always popular, and the new Chalice of the Gods is really one that's just flying off the shelf. Alice Fleck's Recipe for Disaster. That one seems really cute to me. I'm ready to read that one too. It's on my list. About a girl who helps her dad in a bakery, and all of a sudden they get set up for a cooking contest that's supposed to be on TV, and she doesn't want nobody to know that she likes to bake, and all of a sudden she's in front of everybody trying to bake. So of course, something's going to go wrong with that. Whoops, sorry. Dinged is a really good one by Tommy Greenwald. So Tommy's father, or not Tommy, sorry. So his Caleb, in the story, Caleb's father watched his dad play football all the time and get hit constantly, and all that deterioration that happens with his injuries and the suffering that he went through. And so he's trying to decide if he himself wants to play football and go through that. So I think that'd be a great one for the boys to read. So that's one that's in our library now. Dork Diaries, it's always popular. I can't keep them on the shelves between our elementary and middle school. Spy School is another very popular series that's in our schools. And again, it's around 4th grade and up that they start reading it. And it's fun about a kid who goes to school and you find out that it's a school to learn how to be a spy. And so this is like book 11 in the series. So it's a really popular series. Four Eyes is a new graphic novel. I have not read it yet, but one of my teachers did, and she said she was very unhappy with the ending. So I'm waiting for her to tell me why. She said it was a cute book, but she didn't like the ending. So I'm hoping that there's something there that they might do a sequel and then we can change that. So Spy Ninjas, New Recruits, that's a new graphic novel. And then Maisie Chen's Last Chance is something that another book, a huge award winner book that really is about 4th grade and up. And so that's in all of our buy lists for all of my schools. I know it's hard. I have several lists going all the time for all my schools. So it's like a constant rotation. I buy some things and then I add a bunch more. So I'm sure everybody else does the same thing. These are some nonfiction books that we've recently gotten in that are just flying off the shelves. So the sports encyclopedias are really huge because all of our, especially with the boys, they love looking at them and knowing facts and finding out everything that there is to know about their favorite sport. So these ones really fly off the shelves for us. We can't keep them on, and I have them in all 7 of my schools. So these are some of the other ones that we also have that they really like. Again, we just got them in probably about 2 months ago, and as soon as they come back, they're checked out again. Oops. So in my K through 5s, these are the ones that I've really been looking at that we've just got. The Quest of Danger by Stuart Gibbs. The Beach Dilemma, which is a really kind of cute book. So the young girl is in the middle between her 2 brothers in age and everything else, and she's trying to become a big girl so that they call her the middle all the time, and so she doesn't really like that. So she's trying to overcome that on this beach vacation. So Bat Wheels, this is our like kindergarten, 1st grade kind of early reader book that we call. So that's a new one that's come out. I Am Born to Be Awesome, which is another great one where it kind of is mostly for boys. It's another early reader, but it talks about everything from sports to school to everything, how they are born to just be as great as possible. So Spring Sings for the Grouchy Ladybug, Eric Carle, you can't go wrong with any of his books for elementary school. So that's really great. I have another one on my list too. The Secret Zoo, The Final Flight. This is book 6 in the series. And so they're trying to figure out how they can not go to war, or how they can stop a war that's going on between the dangerous stuff and people finding out about the Secret Zoo. So that's a really good book to add to your shelves. There we go. It's the other Eric Carle book, very hungry caterpillar at the bake shop. The caterpillar is going through eating, instead of eating leaves, he's eating all the baked goods. So it's a really cute book. Bruce and the Legend of Soggy Hollow is the holiday version of Bruce's books. He doesn't like Halloween. His family of mice and geese decide the only way to get Bruce excited is to tell a spooky tale. And so they're trying to get him into the spirit of Halloween. So this book is banned, is really cute, very funny. So it's a picture book, but I think that it'd be great even for middle school or even high school for teachers that want to explain book banning. So because it really kind of goes into censorship and the importance of the fight against it. It talks about, oh, this book is about dinosaurs, and then no, dinosaurs are not allowed. Then, okay, this book will be about avocados, and then no, those are not allowed. And then, you know, everything that they kind of say is no, and then everything's forbidden. The whole book is forbidden. So you shouldn't even try reading the book. But it just kind of keeps going in that direction and, you know, talking about how you need to explore the idea of books being banned, you know. So I think that's a really great one. Dragon Girls is a chapter book. This is Zoe and the Beach Dragon. Again, it's like number 11 in the series. It's a new one that we put in. It's good second, third grade book. Llama Llama's Little Lie is a good elementary young kids book, because Llama accidentally breaks his mom's favorite picture frame and can't tell that he did it. He's comes up with some elaborate story, and so it's kind of goes into telling the truth and how you're supposed to do that. So The Enchanted Bridge is books 4 for Dragons in a Bag, and so that's a great new popular series for my 3rd and 4th graders. They really like that series. Even some of the 6th graders have gotten into it. It's very mythical, and so that's something that's really good. 15 Secrets to Survival is about 3 classmates. They're forced to travel in the middle of nowhere for an extra credit project because they broke a school rule. And so they can't figure out how to survive in the wilderness. So it's kind of a cute, funny thing that they're learning all this stuff along the way. Rebel Undercover is another book 3 for the Forgotten 5 series. That's new. I haven't read that one yet. So we just got in about 15 boxes of books, and I order them and we distribute them between the 7 schools, because as I order, they all come to one in order for us to do all the book processing. And so that's one that has just come in. And so I have not read that one yet. Nothing Else But Miracles is a World War II story. So I think that's great. It goes along great with Alan Gratz's books, with Prisoner and his other ones. So it's really good. Talking about these kids are at home in New York while their dad is away fighting in the war. And so it's how are they surviving, waiting for the miracle of him to come home. So Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Sleigh. If you like Mo Williams, you're going to love this book. I just bought it for my granddaughter. So it's super, super cute. Very much like Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. So Mo Williams is another one you can't go wrong with for elementary school. Legend of the Star Dragon is another chapter book, 2nd, 3rd grade kind of thing. So that is another great one. How the Grinch Lost Christmas is a new one that just came out, which is really good. Perfect, again, for Christmas time. The Grinch It's a year after he stole Christmas, and he's trying to show everybody how well he's changed. And yet things happen and Christmas again is threatened. So it's how he lost Christmas. So that's a cute one. The Big Cheese, you cannot really go wrong again for elementary with Jory John. He's a fantastic writer. I love all of his stories. And so they all have great morals to them. It's a fantastic book. Noodle Conquers Comfy Mountain is about this little dog who loves his bed, but his bed is closed off in his owner's room. And so he decides the couch with all the clothes on it is the comfiest place to be. So he decides he's going to find a way to get up there and sleep on that couch. So here are some elementary books, again, that nonfiction ones that our students really love. Anything again with sports or the wars, they're really kind of into all of that. I find those really fly off the shelves a lot. So these are some books that are coming out in 2024 that I'm really interested in seeing. Stuart Gibbs is always great, and there's 2 of his books here on there, Charlie Thorne and the Royal Secret, and then Whale Done are some really good ones that we're expecting to come out early in the year. So 12 to 22 is another one. And then I See a Bat would be great for elementary. You Are Here. So The War of the Witches, which will be book 5 and Dragons in a Bag. Dream Annie Dream. So The Love Report. This will be part 2 of the other book. Again, Forgotten 5. They've got another book coming out, Dangerous Allies. And then There's No Such Thing as Vegetables. So that looks like a really cute book. You're going to love this book. And Don't Wash Winston. So When You Have to Wait, Homegrown, and The Fish of Small Wishes. So The Sun and the Star, another great one. Alan Gratz has got Heroes coming out, which is one that all of my junior high kids are really looking forward to because they love all of his books. And then The Princess Protection Program looks really cute. So I was going to change this so you can see. Whoops. Whoops. Okay, so I hit the wrong button. All right, so I was going to say, like on Tidal Wave, like I was telling you before, all you got to do is sign up for an account and you can type in any title that you like this one, Llama Llama's Little Lie. And you can usually scroll down and it'll tell you your product reviews and what you have. This one, and here's your full text reviews that you can see. So I know 4 eyes. Here we go. So this is one that I had talked about. And as you scroll down, you also have teaching resources and support, which is great because it's free for you to get. And then again, you have your full text reviews. You have Book List, Home Book Magazine, Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, School Library Journal. So these are great if you need to do a book report on the book, if you're worried about any kind of challenge on books. This is a great place to go to get those kinds of of things to show that your book is okay for your library. So there's those. And I think that's about all that I had. So
Thank you, Beth. Does anybody have any questions for Beth? I added even more to my list on that go around. Some of those are so cute. So I always tell people when I'm out visiting schools, I'm like, how much I love my job. And I do love my job, but I really, really miss ordering books. So it's really fun to go through this with all of you and see all of the new books. Any questions for anybody that has spoken so far?
When you are picking out your sports books, I am operating like the world on an extraordinarily limited budget. In fact, I am not funded at all by our school district. I have zero budget. So my entire budget comes from our book fair profits. So I have to be so mindful of what I'm purchasing. But I want to buy things that the kids are into now, but at the same time I have to be so mindful of I fear buying things that are too trendy, because what I don't have the budget to, like, if this sports star is big now, but in 2 years that sport, how do you make that distinction over what you choose to buy?
I usually don't try to do somebody specific unless I'm looking at biographies. I'll try to do more generalization over the entire sport. So here's, playing baseball, and it'll talk about several people that's in there, and then also talk about, how to play, rules. Oh, these are some famous catches, or, stuff like that. I try to do more general over the game rather than just unless I'm doing a biography.
So if you were doing biographies, how do you choose who makes the cut over who you want to feature?
So I ask the kids, like, who are you guys really into right now? And I try to take a poll that way, and then I'll see. Um, like this beginning of this year, I had kids asking me for soccer books left and right. And they're like, do you have this soccer star? Do you have this? And I'm like, no, I don't. But I can add them to my list. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I don't. I mean, I have like Pele because, he was like the greatest. And that,
right.
Like, what about Beckham? I'm like, no, I don't even have Beckham. So I guess I need to add him to my list. So I kind of look at it that way and see what kind of.
Yeah, I have had, so we have 3 teachers at our middle school that, well, I guess 2. It used to be the entire 7th grade, and now it seems to move to the 6th grade, where every single child needed to check out a biography because this was their focus at that moment. And I inherited this library that has probably 10 units of 4 shelves a piece of biographies, and they are all old. And I'm trying to revitalize it bit at a time, but I'm having an issue because I want to buy things that the kids are looking into, but also it has to be over 100 pages. It has to be middle school level. It needs to be something that they're interested in, but it also needs to be something that stands the test of time. Is there a fix for that, or is it just a juggle I need to figure out?
It's just the juggling.
Okay.
A lot of books that I've seen, it's crazy because we do the same thing. They want them 120 pages or more. And there's biographies that are only 22 pages. And I'm like, this is insane. And then there's biographies that are 74 pages, and that's not great either, so so yeah, I find the same problem no matter where I look, just because that's all that's being made. They're not.
That's what I was kind of looking
big ones. So
yeah,
we kind of use Share. Are you a member of Share? Are you a member of Share?
No. No, I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
Okay, so Share is a program in Southern Illinois that kind of like Rails in Northern Illinois.
Okay.
So you become a member. Leah can tell you all about
Yeah,
that.
like this is probably longer than we want to go into
Yeah.
today.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Jana,
Okay.
I will be glad to talk to you more about it. It's like the consortium. It's like a shared catalog, so you could borrow books back and forth.
So
Okay.
that's what I
can
have my
definitely
students do. We borrow books. What
and
we
that
don't
is a
have.
great fix for the exact problem that you're talking about, Janet. Belonging to a
Okay.
shared consortium where you can borrow books is a great solution. And the other thing I always found with biographies is it never failed. As soon as I committed and I bought a biography of somebody, they would get arrested for either beating up their wife or driving drunk. So I'm like, come on, people. I only have a certain amount of money to spend here.
Well, I was looking and like all of our books on Kobe Bryant, he is alive and well and thriving. And clearly those are out of date. So yeah, that's kind of the problem I'm running against. All right, I will look into that. I didn't mean to derail the
That's okay. It's no problem, Janet. When we meet, I'm going to see Janet soon. So when we meet, Janet, we'll talk about all this stuff. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions? We have a question in the chat. My high school boys really want sports novels, but I find it really hard to find good ones. Suggestions. I put in 3 that I knew, and she says she feels like she has all of those. So any other sports novelists for high school that you can think of?
You got Green and Luca already.
Lupica, Green, and Feinstein, which they were really popular.
Yes.
They were sports mysteries.
But I do middle, so that's what I have. Those 3 on mine, and I don't know what high school kind of has. So
what about I'm sorry, Kwame Alexander?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Alexander's a good one. Yeah, booked and all those.
And then Jason Reynolds, the track series, which is a little bit younger, but I still think they're popular. Pony, that's a good one, Jenna.
Yeah, I don't know that he's got a whole bunch of stuff right away, but there's some great stuff. And who's the other one that did Stupid Fast? Is it like Greg Hirschbaum? It's a look up.
I'm looking it up. Hold on.
Okay.
Stupid Fast by Jeff Herbach. I'll put this in the chat.
Okay. He does some sports ones too. And don't forget about Chris Crutcher.
Yep.
I mean, Chris Crutcher's got all the sports books. Like I said, they still stand the test of time, even though they're not super new. So yeah. Crutcher.
And Dan Gutman, they're a little older and dated, and they're like skew a little bit younger, but they're really good for boys who want to read, who like struggle reading. So
and what about Walter Dean Myers has some out there too.
Yep.
And his kind of spans sometimes across the middle school too, because he did what was it's a World War I. It's got a blue cover on it. But he does stuff for both high school and middle school. So you could look at Walter Dean Myers.
He did Darius and Twig. That was a sports book, I believe.
Hoops. He did Hoops. He did Slam.
Yep.
Yep. I'm not seeing the blue one. Bad Boy. That was
Invasion. I think it's called Invasion, but it's a World War I. I think it's called Invasion.
Yeah, it is called Invasion. And then it's not sports, but Monster is a great one that I could always get reluctant readers to read.
Yes.
Yeah,
we actually do that. One. Our freshmen read that. Every freshman has to read Monster.
So, that's a great idea.
They're just finishing it up, actually.
Somebody was talking about girls who like sports novels. I'm going to put this in the, she's talking about Girls Can't Hit by Tom Easton. And then there's an author that I saw, Beth Choate wrote Soccerland, which was a hugely popular one for girls. And apparently it's a series called the International Sports Academy series. So those might be popular for girls. I'm going to put that in the chat. I put all these in the chat, but I will, if I remember, I will try to pull the chat and put the comments in the slides so that we have all of them. And then Samantha just said Furia by somebody whose name I will not be able to pronounce.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that one.
It's a soccer book. It was on one of the lists last year.
Oh. See, I'm like just a year out of, I've only been out of the school for a year and a half, and I'm already like starting to lose touch, with knowing all the books. My daughter is a fourth grade teacher, and she calls me sometimes like, I really need a book for this kid who's struggling. And I'm like, I can tell you from like 3 years ago because I don't know the new ones now. So it's hard to keep up if that's not your everyday job.
And off the list that I did is the Nobody Can Catch Us. No One Can Catch Us. And that's Girls Cross Country. And it's a murder mystery. It flies off the shelf.
I love that we're seeing so much more sports for girls.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I was a kid and wanted to read about sports, the only girls ones were cheerleading or gymnastics. So I like that they're branching out. Okay, any other questions before we go on to the next part? I have a little bit to share with you about what we, just about policy for putting books on your shelves in general and what we know about the new book banning law. And mine is not as much fun, but it still is important to know, but I don't want to leave anybody's questions unanswered. Undefeated by Steve Sheinkin is a fascinating football nonfiction. Is that the story of Jim Thorpe, Samantha? I can't remember. Yes, it is. So yeah, that is a great one too. It was popular in my middle school. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen because I put together some slides. Hold on just a second. It always takes me a minute. Share. Okay, can you see my screen? Somebody tell me yes or no. Yes. Yes, okay. So, hold on just a second. I could get my slideshow going. So I titled this, Be Safe, Not Sorry, Have a Policy. And we're going to talk about some of the difficulties that all school librarians have when it comes to having having policies of any kind. So this again is our record of clock hours and evaluation for today. But we're first going to talk about collection development policy. So collection development policy is a collection of guidelines for the library staff. And I know that it's usually just you making purchases for your library if you're a district librarian or if you're the only librarian in your school. But larger school districts like Chicago Public Schools have a collection development policy that applies to the entire district. And you can, if you're in a district like Beth is that has multiple schools and you're purchasing for all of them, you can have a collection development policy that is overarching that covers all of that. Or if you're just by yourself in a single school, you can tailor it a little bit more. So basically, it's saying what you can purchase for the library and states why you select what you select. So you want to be sure that your collection development policy reflects the needs of all your users. It addresses the fact that, scholarship comes first. And we're going to look at some examples in just a minute. So when I talk to school librarians about collection development policies, the first thing that everybody says to me is, oh, my administration says, no, we can't have a collection development policy because they're afraid that it's going to invite trouble. Hold on just a second.
Mine did that.
So I am trying to watch the chat. So if you have a question, Kate, if you see a question, would you mind letting me know so I don't have to do both? So when I talk to administrators about having a collection development policy, this is what I always say to them. The policy protects both your librarian. So if you're a principal or if you're a superintendent, it protects the librarian, but it also protects the school and it protects the district and it protects the administrators. So if you do get that challenge or if you do get that complaint from a parent, you can point to the line in the collection development policy that says why this was selected. And then It protects you in another way, and people don't consider this. If you somehow get a book on your shelf that violates your collection development policy, your collection development policy allows you to take it off the shelf without being accused of censorship. This happened to me, and I don't know how it happened to me because I was usually very, very careful, but somehow I got a book on the shelf that was way too mature for my kids, and I missed it, or somehow, maybe, I don't know how it got there, but as soon as I realized it, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But then I realized it didn't meet my collection development policy, so I could take it down without really stressing about it. So consider those two things. All right, so these are what a good school collection development policy will have. So it addresses books and materials selected for both pleasure reading and the curriculum. It addresses the need to serve all students and their lived experiences. So you can't just cater to the children of the parents that complain the most. It addresses that materials will be evaluated by multiple criteria, including educational value, social emotional learning impact, filling a demand, filling a hole in your collection. So there's a lot of reasons that you buy a book, and your collection development policies should cover that. And then you should also talk about in your policy about how books will be evaluated, and talk about how you check professional reviews, you read award lists. And I know you cannot read every book that comes into your library, but make sure the parents know. I shouldn't say parents. We write these policies for everybody, not just parents, but to be honest, we're talking about parents. So make sure parents know that you do read them, you do understand what's in them when possible. There are grade level recommendations, there are reading lists, there are teacher recommendations and requests. So all of these things can be taken into consideration when you're evaluating books to put on your shelf. Your collection development policy should talk about how books will be removed from the shelf if necessary. And then how to handle donations. These are two things that you sometimes get into like difficulty with. I always felt like I had to weed under the cover of darkness, because when people saw me taking out books, they would be like, why are you getting rid of those perfectly good books? And I would stop and explain, they're not perfectly good. They're either outdated, or they're inaccurate, or they're gross. I always explain that having the right books is important. And just because you have a shelf full of books doesn't mean they're the right ones for your school. So you have to make sure that admin all the way to your Board of Education understands that there are times when you have to get rid of books. And nobody likes to see books thrown away. So I always tried to donate them to a book sale or give them to students or something like that. But especially when it came down to really old encyclopedias, I did have to sneak them out to the dumpster sometimes. Donations are difficult. I had a parent who was a writer, and he was always donating his books to me to put on the shelf. And I did not want to read them. They were not my thing. But of course, there's no reviews. There's no, they were self-published. There was nothing for me to see if they were appropriate or not. I just had his word to go on. So my collection development policy basically said we did not accept donations, because we just could not be responsible for vetting those books, especially if there were no reviews. But if you are somebody with not a lot of budget, donations could be really good for you. So make sure you write in your collection development policy that you reserve the right to pass on any donations that are not right for your school. So if they give you like a bunch of Danielle Steele books and you're in a elementary school, you're obviously not going to use those. So just make sure that your collection development policy addresses that anything that you can't use, you will pass on to like a library book sale, or you will try to donate them to somebody who can use them, but that you may not use all of your donations. And then your collection development policy needs to address how you will handle any request that books be removed from your library shelves. And this is a big one right now. Obviously, it's a huge, huge problem. I was with a librarian today, and when I visit people, I always ask, have you had a book challenge? And they're luckily most of them are no. But she was just really not aware that book challenges are such a big thing right now. And I was surprised by that because I feel like I guess she's just been very, very lucky where she's had a lot of leeway and hasn't seen it happen and hasn't read about it or something. So I was surprised that she had not heard that. But of course, we are hearing all the time about how books are being challenged. We get complaints. It might be like an actual parent complaint where they feel that something in a book is not appropriate for their child, and they have taken it upon themselves to make sure that no child can read it, all the way to a parent who is getting a list from their church or some other organization that is saying, go see if your school has these books and ask them to take them off the shelves because nobody should read them. So if you have a reconsideration policy in your overall library policy, it prevents any knee-jerk reactions. If your policy, most policies for reconsideration say that the book will stay on the shelf while it is being reconsidered, and that a committee must meet to look at the reasons why it went, the complainant wants to take it off the shelf. It basically says no one person is going to decide that this book comes off the shelf. If you don't have that policy, and to be honest, even if you do have that policy, schools are very often running into the problem where superintendents just march in and said, I had a phone call, parent is upset about this book. Do we have it? If we do, take it off the shelf. So unfortunately, having this policy will not prevent that because so many administrators don't follow the policy, but it does give you a leg to stand on when you can point to that policy and say, our policy states that we will not remove that book until it has gone through the reconsideration process. And these are the people who are involved, and ask them to fill out the form. A lot of times, if you ask a parent to fill out the form and talk about specifically what they don't like, they'll just drop it. The other thing about reconsideration, and I always encourage librarians, before you get to that, try to talk the parent down and offer any solutions that you can to allow them to not have their child read it. And I know that's asking a lot in your already busy schedule, but most circulation systems allow you to add a note to patron records that will say, Mom says no Harry Potter. And you can put that in there, and it pops up, and then a child is trying to check out Harry Potter, and you can say, yep, Mom says no. So that was something that I was able to do at my school. If you have a much larger school, it may be difficult. I know the argument is that parents should take care of this themselves by discussing it with their kid and talking about it when they get home, but unfortunately, that's not the reality we live in. One thing that I want to talk about for reconsideration policies is this brilliant clause that I have seen added to a lot of new reconsideration policies. It's saying that we will only reevaluate a book once in a 5-year span. After that, it cannot be re-challenged until 5 years have passed. And I think that is brilliant because reconsideration takes a lot of time and effort, and nobody has time to constantly be battling on behalf of the same book. So if your reconsideration committee decides that we're going to keep the book on the shelf, then that's it for 5 years. The parent cannot complain again. I'm trying to watch the chat. No questions so far. Okay. So we're going to talk about Public Act 103-0100. And this was formerly known as HB 2789. We watched it come up. We've heard a lot about it, but it is law now and takes effect on January 1st, 2024. This law requires that libraries who are members of the system and who apply for grant monies through the Illinois State Library either adopt the ALA Library Bill of Rights or a similar policy stating that books will not be removed from the shelf based on partisan or doctrinal disapproval. So when I talk to people who are not from Illinois, they're like, oh, you guys have the book banning law. You can't ban a book in Illinois anymore. And that is actually not what this law says. It's basically just saying that if a library bans a book, then they lose the state funding. So there's still opportunity for books to be banned. Unfortunately, it doesn't make that illegal. But it does give libraries a leg to stand on or a platform to fight from when addressing those really aggressive book ban attempts. So basically this means if you do not have, first of all, if you do not have the policy in place, you cannot receive Illinois State Library grant monies starting in the 24-25 school year, which is next year. That grant will be applied for in October of 2024. And there is going to be a place on that grant application where you have to state, we do have this policy in place. However, somebody asked me, does this mean that I have to put books on the shelf that the state says I have to put on the shelf? It does not mean that. It does not mean that you have to put any specific book on your shelf ever. But it does mean that once you have placed a book on your shelf in accordance with your collection development policy, so you've already evaluated this book, you've decided that it is age appropriate, you've decided that it meets a need in your collection, it speaks to the lived experiences of your students, you put it on the shelf, it cannot then be removed because someone else disagrees with it because it has LGBTQIA plus references, it has religious references, it references any kind of racial issues, gender identity issues, or culture references that they disagree with. So we've heard a lot about, anything with LGBTQIA themes getting challenged because people just do not want that mentioned in children's books at all. We've seen a lot of like critical race theory, people claiming that books have critical race theory in it. A lot of gender identity, people are just like, no, nobody should read this. And as you all know, because this is what you do for a living, there are a lot of great books out there that are completely age appropriate that do deal with these difficult topics in a very straightforward and non-confusing and supportive way. So this law aims to prevent those knee-jerk, just pull them off the shelf because it says something I don't like. All right, here are some sample policies. These are a bunch of different ones, and I put some different ones on here, and I'm going to make this available so you can go back and look at them. I put a big one from Chicago Public Schools on here. Can you guys see that, or did it open in a different window?
Opened in a different window.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me pull it over here and see if you can see it. Do you see it now? Yes. Okay. So this is a huge collection development policy for all of Chicago Public Schools. So every librarian that works in Chicago Public Schools has to follow this collection development policy. But it talks about things like covering their lived experience and schools serving communities in Chicago in which different world languages are used need to make efforts to accommodate those languages. So your collection development policy can be as short and concise or as expansive as you need it to be. So I really like this one because it just covers so much, and it talks specifically about which selection tools that they use. So that's a great one. And then Mattoon Schools has a great collection development policy, and theirs goes a little bit farther because they are a consortium member, and their students have the opportunity to request books through interlibrary loan. And their policy specifically addresses parents, it is your responsibility to monitor what your children are bringing home from the library because they can request anything, and we don't have time to do all that policing for you. Hold on just one second. I got to get this up and drag it over where you can see it. Up thought I had this ready to go. There we go. So Mattoons is a little bit shorter, but it's very direct and to the point. So I strongly recommend that you check out as many as you can find, because one size does not fit all. You may find clauses in some that really apply to you and really strike you, and you think it will be very, very good for your school. And some of them, like, that doesn't really apply to us. We don't need it. I did specifically put Skokie Public Library on here, even though they're not a school. Hold on a second. Because they are one of the only ones that already is addressing the new law. So right there in their resources selection policy, they say we uphold the Library Bill of Rights. So they are already ready for the new law. Public libraries are actually going to run into this before school libraries, because their per capita grant is not due until January, and those grants will be subject to this law. So this library is ahead of the game and is putting that right there in their collection development policy. Okay. There's a few more that you can look at here, and then there's also this one, which is the ALA and the American Association of School Librarians toolkit for developing policy. So there's some samples there, but it also talks about things to be aware of. Okay, see if I can drag this over where you can see it. There we go. So it talks about collection development and hints and like professional tips on how to write a collection development policy. And I also want to tell you, if you don't have a policy and you're putting one together for the very first time, please feel free to call me. I will be glad to assist you. And if you need help tweaking it for the new law, you can call us here at IHLS anytime, and we will be glad to help you. Okay, hold on a second. I have to get back to the right thing. All right, I want to talk about the generic board policy writing services that are out there. So many times when you try to approach your administration about getting a new policy enacted, they say, no, we subscribe to a grant writing service and we only adopt policies recommended by that service. And I just want to warn you that I am not sure that this law will be addressed by those services, because it is Illinois specific. We have heard that a couple of those services are looking at this law and making the changes necessary so that Illinois schools can include this in their policy. But one thing I want to talk about, if your administration flat out refuses to add a policy that isn't in one of those generic board policies, ask them to adopt your collection development policy as a procedure. This has come through. Policy is much harder to adopt for a school because you have to get the board and it has to be vetted by the lawyer. But a lot of times they will adopt it as a procedure, and you can get it in kind of under the radar doing that. And then that is all that I know about the law so far. We are going to see it play out, the first round of grant applications coming up in January, and we will see how it goes. If Ellen or Kate is on here and wants to add anything about the law as we know it so far, feel free to jump on and tell me whatever I have missed.
Leah, I think you did a great job talking about what's going to be included. And when the per capita grants roll out for the public library, we'll see what it physically looks like. We're expecting, to use Kate's language, that it's going to be a compliance statement, that will be a check that's saying, yes, we do. So not too burdensome as far as paperwork, just the groundwork you have to do in advance.
Are there any questions about any of that? I want to encourage you to talk about this policy. So Leah, technically, yes. it should be in the official board policy. I haven't seen how that's going to play out, and it's not really addressed in the law. So I might, we're working more closely with ISB than we ever have before. So I might talk to ISB about that and see what they say. So technically, yes, it should be part of the overall school board policy, but I know it's very, very hard to get any specific policies in the official record. So that's why I'm suggesting you adopt it as a procedure at the very least, so that you can point out that we do have it. It is stated, it's public, and we do follow it. It's just not in our school board policy yet. I strongly recommend that you tell your administrators that this can help prevent book bans. And that's what they really want to avoid, is parents being mad at them. But please try to talk to your administrators about these issues before you have a complaint. Because once you have a complaint, it's very hard to move any kind of procedure through that is going to crack down on complaints. So once you have a complaint, it's already too late because you're under that microscope. Okay, any other questions?
Our district does not have a media specialist at all employed, and has not had one for, I'm thinking, probably 12 years.
Mhm.
So I'm a media, I have my degrees in education, but I do not have my MLS. How do I go about approaching them? Because I don't think that they're going to let me write a policy
Right.
that would be part of our district. So do you think having one school specific is a possibility?
So your school is a little bit of a special case, and I kind of have a relationship with somebody in your district office already. So when you and I talk, I planned, because I didn't know you at the time when I was considering all this. I'm so glad to have met you since then. But I planned to reach out to that district official and say, just so you know, this is coming. And then I will be glad to tell them to talk to you because you know all about it and you were here. And we can talk more about that too.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. And even those of us who are library professionals, and just so you know, just to be clear, you do not have to have the master's degree to be a school librarian. It is an endorsement in the education license, the professional educator's license. I think yes, you just need 18 hours of media coursework and to take the content test to get the endorsement.
Really? Okay.
So yes, and a lot of us do have the master's degree. You can go on to get it, but you don't have to have it to be a certified school librarian.
No, I have it. I have the endorsement only. I don't have it.
Do you? I didn't know that, Beth. I thought you did too. So
yeah,
okay.
No, I did 24 hours, and then I'm working on my master's, but it's not yet. But I got this endorsement. So.
And can you do these classes online through another? Because at the time, when I was working at the public library, I didn't pursue it because at that time the MLS was only offered at U of I, and I was working full time and I could not go back and forth. I guess you can just take the classes online now.
A lot of them are. Yep.
There's a lot of colleges that offer it. Kentucky offers it all online. Dominican offers it all online.
And I think the U of I does now too.
Does most of it. I think there's like one weekend that you have to go up there for like a weekend seminar or something like that. But otherwise, they're all online.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So if there's no questions, I will let you go 3 minutes early. I'm going to University of Missouri as well in St. Louis and online. I did not even know that, Ellen. That's so funny because my husband works for the University of Missouri. You'd think I would be more clued in than that, but I will let you all go. Please fill out the form and you will get your evidence of completion for this 1.5 hours of PDH. If you mess it up and you didn't get the form or whatever, reach out to me anytime. You all, I will put my email in the chat so you can save it. And you can reach out to me anytime for anything. And I'm always glad to help. And I always love to hear from you guys. So please keep in touch.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to Jenna and Beth for Jenna and Beth for presenting today. That was great. I loved it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.